It's September the 2nd, 2019, Labor Day. Continuing this project of going through the Ethical Presence manuscript, looking at writing from a couple of years ago. Had about 25 pages of what I still consider to be really good stuff. Hit a real clunker, but did what I consider to be a good piece of video. I put it up this morning. The last video that I did, improvising off of that piece. Here's the next piece from that time. Big Life is what it's called. You have to build a following, she said. I would advise you to build a big following for your blog, and then maybe you can convince someone to produce you on a stage. But it's very hard. We produce one thing every once in a while that's really good, and then we bring out our cash cow, a shit show that everyone loves, to pay for that good thing. We have a payroll of 400 people to support. I thought of the Stanley Tucci movie, one of the ones he directed, Big Night. It's about two Italian brothers from Abruzzi. My mother was born there, who open a restaurant. One brother, Primo, the chef, is an artist. The other brother, Secondo, is a businessman who's worried about being popular and surviving and receiving the financial benefits of drawing a crowd. He's ambitious. Primo is compelled to create Italian. Primo is compelled to create Italian meals that are authentic and, quote, un-Americanized, and might be far beyond New Jersey customers' tastes. It's not his intention to go beyond the customer's taste, but he has an understanding of what he believes, what is excellent Italian cuisine. The brothers personify an obvious and common conflict between the need to make a living, or even beyond that, the ambition to be financially successful, and the desire to create authentic and pure expressions of reality. In other words, the truth. Truth is beauty, and beauty truth. Something is aesthetically pleasing when it is made with a clear-eyed honesty. The businessman knows the value of $1. The artist senses that anything other than his genuine thought and feeling is a lie. Primo gets his way and cooks an exquisite meal one important evening for a newspaper reviewer and invited guests. Parentheses. Now we go back to the moment of my interaction with the person that spoke at the beginning of the piece. She liked to talk about her big fat opinions. Her big fat opinions. And I'm realizing at this point, and really to show you, as I discussed in previous videos, the naivete that I was working through at a very late date, obviously, because just a few years ago, I wasn't a kid. So if this is like 3.5, 4 years ago, whenever this was written, so, she was insulting me, right? Because I'm aware, I'm not going to use the word fat because I am fat, I guess, if you're going to take the negative connotation out of the word. I mean, I'm aware of it right now because I'm looking into this camera. I see the chin and everything. I know. And I'm aware of it at the moment. But generally, when I'm walking through life, I'm not thinking about my weight or my age. And I'm not thinking of what I say as being opinions. So, basically she was saying, you're a fat guy with a big mouth with a bunch of opinions. And she was discounting the commercial viability of what I wanted to do on the stage. And she was discounting the art of it. Basically she was saying, you're just a fat asshole who's running his mouth with a bunch of with a bunch of opinions, you fat fuck. This is I don't think it's opinion, and I don't think whether I'm fat or not, I don't conceive of myself as being fat. That's not essentially what I'm doing. So, you know, so this woman was insulting me. When I first started reading this again, I thought, oh, she said, well, we produce one thing that's really good. I thought that she was being supportive of me, like, oh, it's a tough business and it's a hard go, but you're doing something of some kind of excellence, and that's really hard to get out there because of all the different pressures that even an art institution. But that's not what she was saying. She was talking about. She had actually written or adapted. I guess it was writing. She adapted a book into a play, and eventually a version of that story went on to. A woman won an Oscar based on that. I'm purposely avoiding using names. I did that in the last piece too. I mean, some people might be able to kind of like do, if they were that curious, do some detective work and figure out who it is that I'm talking about. But I actually think that would detract. I'm not doing a Romana Clef. I'm not doing gossip here. I'm not settling scores or whatever. I'm really trying to understand these dynamics. Now, she might say, well, that's just your opinion, fat ass. You might say it too. And then go fuck yourself, But anyway, she talked about big fat opinions. And her, quote, big fat opinions are the source of her, at this moment, blocked art. Her expressions emanating from her true experience with the world, which she withholds from us in the name of, quote, financial reality, the biggest artist block of them all. And you know what? I think that might be right. So she was like, oh, you want to get your art out, which is really just your fat face spouting out your worthless opinions, But really, she had written this play that was successful artistically and went on to become a film that was honored with the highest awards at the Oscars. And yet I was sitting and talking to her in an academic office where she was directing an academic program, and she was running a theater. So she had taken on all these administrative duties. And she did it in order to make a living. So she was a professional. She was a professional theater person. But she also was an artist who came up with this honored piece of dramatic writing. So when she sees me come in and say I'm trying to do something in its purity, and I sought her out because she had accomplished that in commerce, it made her feel bad and it pissed her off. So, big fat opinions. I'll say something else, which is a general observation about theater people. One thing that always sort of bothered me about it, and I would put myself into this category too, because I think I've done it too. the writer in me, as brutal as many of my observations are, the writer in me is the sweet part of me. It's not the part of me that has resentment or anger. That usually happens when I have to. It's the frustration of dealing with people with anything besides my writing. It happens as a teacher. I remember going back years ago when I taught improvisational workshops. I was like a mad scientist in there. I actually was working on, at the time, it was stuff that was of interest to me, but I was really taking it in different directions and artistic directions. And I remember I mooned a class once, and Paul Sills, who I admired as a teacher, would always get pissed off with class and like yell at people and make comments and everything. And I guess I sort of thought that's the way it would be done. And my father did that too. And I think, it's weird. I've encountered that a lot in theater. The insult, the brutal comment, the rage that it pretends to be this, the rage that it's not a perfect world, the rage that you're not doing better or whatever. And as recently as when I was teaching at UIC, I brought that into the classroom. It's like, reading this piece is making me reconsider. I always thought Sills, for example, was a frustrated writer. And I think really every time I've either taught or improvised with other people or acted in the theater, I think I always was a frustrated writer. And I think I think that's what I encountered. The thing about writing is in improvisation, they talk about acceptance. There's more acceptance in writing of the world the way it is than there is in theater and the dynamic with other people. This kind of harshness. Oh, you're fat. I mean, I have, in her mind and in her intention, I'm not really saying she's a bad person. She might be thinking, well, with this guy, if he wants to make it in the theater, what he should do is he should lose weight and he should hone his writing more. But she doesn't want to say that, because she could say that in the gentlest possible way, and but it's direct, and that could and she doesn't want to deal with the blow up that would cause. So what she wants to have plausible deniability. So what she does is she comes up with an insult, and then that gets me out of the room, right? And then what? And also what she's doing is that she's not. I mentioned this before, but I'm going to mention again in another context. I saw that somebody said that if you're a coach or a teacher, you should completely devoid yourself of the situation and have your entirety of your focus be on the other person or persons, so that you really can deal with whatever they're dealing with. She may have been employing that, like as a theater director, or she's a theater teacher. She may have, but I think it's it's a bullshit approach, because you cannot. I'm sorry, there's a plane out there, but it's too warm to close the door. You get the you're going to get the see, it distracted me, that fucking plane. If you devoid yourself and you don't talk about what's going on with you, you're not gonna she was talking about what was going on with her, but she was projecting it on me. You can't be in any human relationship where you're not there and there's not an awareness of yourself in the situation. So, and then I wrote this piece, which was basically dealing with it, and I guess I'm still dealing with it. But I'm not dealing. I don't have any emotion connected to this. I mean, I'm not. Some of the things that I talk about, I've even recently been upset. The memories. There are wounds that I don't know if you're like this or not. There are wounds that hang in there, and it takes a long time for them to heal. And you got to go really. In my case, you go really deeply into the wound, and then finally, when you understand it, it heals. I think I had a pretty good understanding of this woman, that she basically was blocked and resentful. I mean, she could very well have thought I was a fat blowhard too, but she didn't really read my blog. So it was just by however I described it that I said, well, I'm talking about my own life or whatever. So, then it's the idea of, well, who the fuck are you? Who cares? All of that is non-artistic, right? So, right. I don't know if you think that's right. It is. I think it's right. It's non-artistic. And this was a person that had done something creative. And actually she did something that was highly regarded as art. But I don't know. I didn't see it, actually. So I don't know if I would think it was art or not. But anyway, I think she was blocked. And I think she was resentful. She was resentful that she had to engage in the business of life. I was thinking of calling this video doing art and living a rational life or something. I mean, I wisely dismissed that as a bad title. But that's basically what it is. But that's not a title. It's more of a hashtag or something. But that's basically what this piece is about. So I was exploring the possibilities of doing this work in the theater, in that format, in a theater genre, with someone who was completely embittered by a life where she spends many hours doing things that she doesn't want to do because she's afraid she's not going to survive. And as opposed to what I said earlier, I don't think it's out of in her case, it's not out of an ambition to get rich. This isn't the sellout. This is the scared person who's not committing to their art because they're thinking, how am I going to live? And her answer is that you do a lot of shit, and it's shit, and you shovel it out to a bunch of stupid assholes that are too stupid to know shit from real food, and then every once in a while you do something good, but it's really, really hard, and you discourage anybody else from trying to do it. So I went looking for artistic and business advice from someone who had left the arts and would prefer to leave business if she could, but she's afraid that she won't survive. Okay, back to Primo and Secundo. As a result of other plot complications in the movie, the restaurant fails. And the art of that one meal, of course, brilliantly succeeded. The art did. even if it went unrecognized and it couldn't be sustained. I believe, and I'm remembering this from the movie, a big restaurant critic was supposed to come to the to this great meal, and that person never showed up. So it was this tremendous meal, and it wasn't recognized anywhere. So the art couldn't be sustained, and the business was in trouble. Primo himself could be sustained, and he lived to cook again, as did Secundo in his own way. The brothers refused to work for someone else and end the film with Primo's arm on Secundo's shoulder as they eat omelets that Secundo created. And that gave me more information. It didn't give me any information at all about taking this into a theater, which I don't care if it's in a theater. It's not that. That is it's such a great movie. Big Night is a great movie. I'm going to read that line again, because the brothers refused to work for someone else. And because that was one of their possibilities, to go get a job for someone else. And end the film with Primo's arm on Secundo's shoulder as they eat omelets that Secundo created. Now, this idea of not working for someone else, I know, because I'm thinking about this right now. Because right now, I've got two things going, basically. I mean, I'm looking for a job, and what do I need in a job? I need to be personally respected, not run down. I need it not to be soul denying, so it can't be a job where there's harm involved, harming other people, and I need the time to do this work. The writing and the well, you see it, the vlog, the blog, the writing, the videos, everything that I do. I need the time to do that creative work, and that creative work is going to find its way. It's not going to be like what she was saying. You do a lot of shit. So what was this woman describing? She was saying, what we do at our theater is that every once in a while we do something good. But in order to survive, we do some piece of shit show that we know that we can pull over on the rubes, the idiots in the audience, right? This attitude. So that's spiritually denying. So being with her or having anything to do with that theater, I don't want to be it. I wouldn't want it. They don't want, she doesn't want the fat opinionated blowhard anyway, but doing anything at that theater is like stupid. It's soul denying. They're not doing something positive. Also interesting that it's something that looks like it is positive, right? But just because they hand out tote bags doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. Just those superficial differences. You would think a not-for-profit theater, you would think. I don't know if you would think. I mean, the superficial view would be that, oh, well, that's something that's doing something positive for other people. I mean, no, it isn't. It condescends to those people. Then the other part of it is that to be personally respected, well, obviously not. It's a culture where they insult people. Oh, who the fuck wants to listen to you and your fat opinions? I mean, that's the worst thing you can do to a creative person. You have to encourage. It's not that you don't necessarily construct constructively say, look at this or look at that, or you're doing this. But I think in my case, for example, anybody who knows me knows that, which maybe few people do. I don't know. Maybe you have a sense of it from reading the blog or watching these videos. But really, I'm actually pretty hard on myself. I don't need somebody giving me a kick in the ass, and I don't make claims. So you see, really, it's like I'm going. For example, I'm going over this writing. I'm changing it. I'm saying this writing's bad. I'm adding all this other stuff. I'm adding this new insight. I'm talking about transformation and learning. And actually, personally, I'm way beyond the point where I need anybody to teach me or direct me or anything else. I mean, I figure this stuff out for myself. It's not like the idea of, they say, people say don't listen to other people. I listen to other people, but I'm not listening to other people that they have an authority to make decisions for my life. I learn from other people all the time. So and I learned a lot more in the positive from Stanley Tucci's work of art. An artist who's doesn't seem to me to be frustrated. There he is. He's a really good actor. He goes out and he acts in these movies. I'm sure he thinks that some of those movies are better than others, but I have noticed something about the movies that I've seen him in. They were like good choices, I mean, the movies were pretty good, and definitely the work that he does in the movies is very good. I don't get the impression that he's doing these movies to say, let's do some shit for the asshole, so then I can go back and I can do my independent film. I don't see that kind of frustration, that kind of despair, that type of cynicism. I don't see that in Stanley Tucci. I just don't. And really, I don't see it in myself in terms of like going and being an adjunct teacher or something. Listen, I don't believe anybody can. I've said it a million times on this thing. I'm going to say it again. No one can teach anybody anything. Okay? Doesn't happen. Everything that I'm describing, especially in the area of the thing that I know about that I could teach, that teaching something related to what it is that I do here, I can't teach anybody anything. But within that setup, and I think Stanley Tucci knows that the movies that he's not directing, that he does for these other a lot of times the script's not going to be as good, the director's not going to be as good, but he knows he can give a good performance, and he knows he can show something through that, and that he can be a positive influence. So it's not being completely without compromise, but I'm pretty sure that he's in a position where he's personally respected. It's not soul denying. He's not doing anything awful. And it gives him the sustenance and the opportunity in order to do his creative work. I mean, I think these are the requirements. I don't think what this director of a theater program at a university, administrator of a not-for-profit, renowned not-for-profit theater in Chicago, who wrote a play that got a lot of positive attention. I don't think she has the answer. Okay. Back to the text here. I thought of Joseph Campbell's advice to artists, which I've referred to in other contexts elsewhere in this blog. He said, get a job teaching a low-grade version of your art. That's your job. Your art is your work. Artists have skills that are practically useful to other people. Your work, as opposed to your job, explained Campbell, is your pure vision in art. He praised the musician John Cage, who stood alone and pursued a singular vision of his work for years, with no money or recognition from it, and just knew and knew. And that really resonated with me. It's not that I want it to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, but I'm not discouraged by obscurity. I think what I'm doing here is really interesting and really good. And if I didn't think that, and there are some pieces, I've talked about them, that I don't think that, I have no problem in saying, no, that wasn't really that good. So I don't. I would love to have recognition in that. Recognition would help me. Would give me opportunities for my work. Right. I mean, to keep working, to work more, and everything else. On the other hand, with technology the way it is today, that I'm doing. I don't like the word performance because I'm not really performing. I'm just talking to you or whatever. But I'm doing my art here, and I can deliver it, and it's so easy. I mean, you don't need anything. It doesn't cost a lot of money. But if I were making money for this, if I didn't have to worry about spending any time looking for a job and doing the job, that would give me more time for this. On the other hand, by looking for the job and doing the job, it connects me into the world. So I have real substance to bring to this. We were cleaning up. We were organizing the storage space at Paula's direction, because if it weren't for her, nothing like that would ever get done at all, because I'm oblivious to it and don't want to do it and try to get out of it in any way that I can. But we went down, and one of the big things that we had to organize down there is I had all these bags and boxes of books, which came out of the office at UIC that I had. That's where I was keeping them. And I had that office for several years, 5 years I was there, maybe 4 years I had the office. So, and I brought all that stuff home, and it's been in our storage space, and it was taking up a lot of space. And Paula bought these shelves, and we were able to get rid, and they're great shelves, and they're really deep and big. So we're able to get rid of all these bags and boxes, and the books are there. But I realized I read all those books. I don't read books now. I mean, I spend my time creating stuff. Norman Mailer said, "Don't read when you're writing, because then you end up sounding like the people that you're reading." And I think that's true. I just want my own voice. But one of the reasons why I can do that is that I read all those books. And when did I read all those books? It wasn't when I was a kid. It was in my late 30s, say from like the age 35 to 50. And for part of that time, I was just like walking the earth, wandering around, doing all these different odd jobs, mainly with things like inside sales, poorly teaching English as a second language. I had no business doing those jobs, and kind of just scraping by most of the time. In New York and in Chicago, and a little bit even back home at my parents' place in Rochester, wandering around, spending a lot of time in movie theaters and bookstores. I still spend a lot of time in movie theaters, bookstores, museums, and just like walking the city. And the whole experience of doing all that was a really rich education. as has been all my struggles with first discovering that I was an artist and then making a living as an artist doing art within a rational life. So I had to struggle with all of that, and still do. And I'm 64 years old. But needless to say, that struggle's been good for my art. And all those books, the books that I have in our storage space now, that's maybe from the last 15 years. There's a ton of books, but there were 2 or 3 other libraries, too grand a word, book collections that ended up getting sold at secondhand shops and everything. So a lot of reading and a lot of wandering around, a lot of struggling, a lot of failure. In my case, this kind of schizophrenic, I don't want to use psychological language though, because I don't want to even allude to it, because that's not what I mean. I've had like successes and failure. I've had it all, I've been a pirate, a puppet, a pauper, a poet, a pawn, and a king. To echo back to the Frank Sinatra piece I did a couple days ago. So, all this is useful. The struggle is useful. But now I continue here with this text. I note to myself that it is a great strategy. It places no financial pressure on your work. You limit your participation in business in a way that doesn't harm your soul. You provide a useful service, have mainly cordial and friendly relationships at your job, and you have the time to make your art. Now, this woman said, talented and committed artists often don't succeed. So she was, she wanted to discourage me from trying to do what I'm doing. And when I look at this, I say, provide a useful service. So in other words, that what I was saying before, something that isn't soul denying, your service to other people, have mainly cordial and friendly relationships at your job, being treated respectfully, and have the time to make your art. I think the toughest of those is the being treated respectfully, but I'm not sure if that's because of my own personal experience, bad choices, naive choices, or if it's the nature of the world, or maybe it's something different that's happening in the world. The amount of rudeness, condescension, dishonesty, breaking promises, insulting treatment that I've experienced on jobs is very high. There's been a lot of that, and it's been in different sectors. It's been in the academy, it's been in the law, it's been in performing. I just don't. I don't think it's possible to sustain a situation where you're being treated with disrespect. I would. You have a friend who disrespects you, he's not your friend. Get the hell out of there. You're married to somebody where they're constantly disrespecting you, leave them. I'm not telling you what to do, but but realize, hey, now I'm sounding like this woman here, but realize that path is very hard. Then you fall back upon yourself, and you're alone, and you have to connect with new people, and you have to figure a lot out, and it's very difficult. But you know what happens when you have to do all that? You have to keep doing it. You get very smart, and you become an artist, and you start having insights that are worthwhile to other people. Sometimes people this is back to the text. Sometimes people misunderstand when I approach them to explore opportunities to have my work published and produced. Yeah, well, I don't, right now I'm not doing it. I don't know. This part I don't understand. I don't, I do understand it. I don't know about this paragraph. This is sometimes people misunderstand when I approach them to explore opportunities to have my work published and produced. Maybe I misunderstood a bit too at one time. I want to be published and produced to expand my work. More resources can lead to more developed expression. I don't think that's true, actually. So that part of it, I don't see anymore. That more resources, more developed expressions. What did I have an orchestra playing behind me right now? You know, I, none of that has anything to do with what I'm saying. You can express yourself using whatever's available. And as I say, this personal technology makes it so easy. So, and find interested audiences and collaborators. Do you have to find? I don't want to go find an audience or find a collaborator. I feel like you put it out there, and your audiences and your collaborators, they find you. If somebody wants to have something to do with you, it just grows. You just build a relationship with them. I find all of that too hard. And actually, during this period, I was trying to do the other thing. I think I was, because I thought that that's what I was supposed to be doing. I thought that's what I wanted. It's not what I want. All right. I just want to make a living, and I want to do my art and let the art go where it will go. Um, now I say in the next line, I'm not interested in branding and self promotion for their own sake. And this paragraph makes an interesting thing about writing. They say writing is rewriting, and people talk about it like, really what writing is that what gets rewritten is me. That's where real writing comes out of. So it's like, so it is very interesting pieces, and see places where I was confused or didn't have the depth of understanding that I have now. Let me continue with this, because this is surprisingly off. Bad writing, not bad. It's not bad writing. It's not right. It's just a snap. It's where I was at that time. Ironically, I think there's a market for my work, or anybody's work that's done with integrity, backed up by effort and talent. Uh, no, but I don't think the market is the point. I think pure artistic expression can make money, a lot of it. So obviously, I was still working all this out. This is what society was telling me to want. This is, a big part of this process has really been like simplifying and letting go. And this idea of getting rich off of this work, I say I'm not doing it for the money, but I know that I will get it. I don't know that. I don't know that I'll get it. Generally, um, it's been my experience that money doesn't come unless you have the intention to make it. I mean, I would love Please, somebody see this video and say, "Oh, you're so great. I'm gonna give you $1 million." Please, I'd appreciate it. But I don't have the time or the energy to think about how to capitalize this, how to make money off of this. Um, we live in a much more sophisticated world than it was yesterday. We are entering a new age of art where the dichotomy between art and business, making a living or a financial success, is vanishing. Well, that could be true. And that could be something I know nothing about. If that's true, if there's a market for this and there's a way to get it to market, and if there are people that, anybody who knows about something like that, please get in touch with me because that would be a good way to make a living. But I really, at the moment, I don't see that. For example, Big Night is set in the 1950s. There's a big market today for food prepared by master chefs who create their own culinary visions built on the tradition of old world Italian cuisine. I don't have to compromise to be successful. Well, that I think is true. I think that I think there's a lot of things out there that wouldn't have been in a different time. But this is me just wondering about stuff now. I really don't have either artistic or professional insight on this. It would be my hypothesis that there are many more niche markets that exist for people to do very particular things than there ever was, because of cultural changes and because of technology. Okay, this is back to Debbie Downer here. This theater academic executive, one-time playwright. She continues, it takes good ideas, hard work, and persistence. Now I answer, I think to myself, it takes good ideas and persistence. People who talk about hard work are working for someone else. Well, that isn't true. I actually had a big bugaboo. I would get upset whenever I heard the word work because uh, I had been accused so many times in my life for not working when I actually was working very hard because it was by people that didn't recognize uh, that the creation of art is work. Um, I think I have a very strong and another thing too. If you enjoy your work and if you make choices in your work because of for what you need and not for hard work in terms of pleasing the boss, uh, then you might be accused of not being a hard worker. You know, I do think that this woman was like, I don't know who she was talking to there. She didn't know me well enough to. Uh, Maybe she just didn't know what to say. I mean, she didn't know me well enough to talk about good ideas, hard work, and persistence. I don't know. I don't know why she felt. She knew me for a half hour. I don't know why she felt she had to tell me that. Um, Now I continue, and this is where I believe in this paragraph. I really show my naivete at this time. I observe that this is a woman of great talent and intelligence, and a genuinely kind person who knows what is good. She has had the experience of making good theater. She wasn't genuinely kind. And I have no idea if she's talented. And I really don't even know really the level of her intelligence. Why did I write that? Again, it's the same thing that made me write that I'm sure that I'm going to make money doing this work. I think I had a naive feeling that I was still within the social walls, that I was still in society when I wasn't. My work was unconsciously taking me further and further away from the way things are. And the way things are, the world that she's in is not a world that relies on great talent and intelligence and being genuinely kind. She talked about being a con artist. She talked about doing a lot of shit shows that she could fool because she knew that audiences were ignorant and she was going to cater to their ignorances, so that every once in a while they could slip one in that made them feel good. They would do that for themselves every once in a while, but mainly it was about meeting the payroll to pay 400 people. I don't know what's kind, intelligent, or talented about that. Since she's had the experience of making good theater, I don't know that either. I didn't see it. And she's currently blocked by her need to build business. And is she blocked by it? Is she blocked or is she beyond being blocked? Has she given up and just become like she could have been a playwright and she became a mid-level executive because she thought it was safe. That's who I think she is, really, from the memory and from looking at this. Now, this is completely off. She's a special type, the artist who plays the role of entertainer. No, I talked about in a previous video the difference between art and entertainment. This is about something else entirely. This is about the person who gives up on art because they're afraid that they have to make a living. This isn't even about business because she wasn't trying to get rich. She is currently possessed by the rare archetypal carnival barker who knows better. She was born primo, but something happened and she was temporarily transformed into secondo. On the bad days before he acquiesced on the big night when the perfect meal was served. No, I think I was the one that was going back and forth between primo and secondo. Not her. It was me who was going back between primo and secondo. And I was exploring the secondo route by wandering into her office. And then the last line that I have of this piece is, she'll be back. Back from where? And that's one thing that I'm noticing that I really don't like in the pieces from this period a few years ago that don't completely work. It's like the trying to have some rose-colored glasses of everybody's going to be back. I think this is one thing that caused me a lot of pain. I generally thought that everybody in the world was like me, who has great talent and intelligence and is genuinely kind and who knows what is good. That's me. That's not her. Or maybe I'm just a big fat fuck shooting off his mouth with a bunch of fucking opinions. All right. That's that. Thank you.